Okay, I'm just about to start sewing the buba, and I'm starting with the neckline. So I'm using a blue bias for the neckline. So I'm going to start the sewing of the bias on the right side. This is the right side of the buba. So I'm going to start the sewing on the right side. Then starting, I'll fold the bias a bit. I'm going to fold the edge of the bias. You can see I'm just starting, so I'll fold the edge of the bias a bit. Then I'm going to start sewing just on one folded edge of the bias. I'm going to use the second one to top stitch it. Just go gently all around. I'm gradually getting to the finishing line where I started from. So watch how I'm going to end it. I'll sew on top of. I'm going to sew on top of where I started from a bit before I cut it off. So I'm done with that. Next now is to top stitch. I'm going to top stitch now. I've done one side, so I'm going to top stitch now. Welcome to my channel again. You know, we have been sewing our Iran buba, and this is the buba. As you can see, we have used the bias to turn the neckline, so the buba is already forming shape. Then this is the sleeve of the buba. So I will go to the machine now. I will fold the lower part of the sleeve. I will fold it up. You remember we notched it, the hemming allowance. Then I will show you how I will sew here with 1 inch, and then what I will join on the side of the buba before I start attaching the sleeves. Okay, this is my buba now. I've turned it to the other side. You know that the wideness of that buba is 10 inches. So I'm going to measure 10 inches here. This is 10 inches. So I'm going to leave that space for the sleeve. Then I'll come to the base. I'll measure 4.5. 4.5 is for my slit. So this is what I'll use for the slit. That means that I'm going to join the side of the buba from here to here. So, and I'm using 1 inch to join it. You know, the sewing allowance that we left is 1 inch. Then after then, I will come to the sleeve of the buba too. This is the sleeve of the buba. You know, like I said, there are 2. Then I will fold the hemming part. I'm going to follow my notching. Then I'll fold it like this and sew it 1 inch down. After folding it, then I will fold it together like this and use the same 10 inch, the wideness. The wideness is 10 inches, so I'm going to leave the same 10 inches here. Make sure your measurement is correct. Then I'll use what is left, which is supposed to be 1 inch. Here you can see 1 inch. That's what I'll use to sew it down. So I'm just about to start sewing now. So just observe everything I'm going to do before I now fasten the sleeve on the side of the buba. Okay, now I've joined the side of the buba, you can see, and I've also done the slit at the lower, at the hemming part. So I will still later go and fold the hemming, but that's going to be the last thing I will do. Now I want to join this sleeve to the sleeve space that we left here, you understand. Now look at the sleeve, I've turned it to the right side, the buba is still on the left side, so I'm going to tuck it in. This is the traditional way of sewing it, in a way that the buba will stand out well and it will not squeeze. This is the right part, this is the joining side, so I will join this joining side with the joining side that is here. So I'm going to tuck it in. We will tuck in. Remember that it is 10 inches wideness that I left on both the buba and on the sleeve itself. So that the reason is because, so the two, you can see both of my own, they are equal, the space is equal. So by the time I'm sewing it, it will be very easy for me to sew it. The joining on the sleeve with the joining on the buba here. Then both notching will also rhyme here on this side. You can see I'm holding the two together, the two holes together, and they are equal. So if they are not equal, you must do something to it. Reduce the one you need to reduce, or expand the one you need to expand out of it, but make sure that both are 10 inches. If both are 10 inches, they will be equal like my own. So what I now have to do now is to sew it. And the sewing is also a bit technical, but it is also easy. So the sewing is easy. I'm going to ensure that I don't sew across the joining. So I'm going to start from the joining here, round, or I start from the other side. This is it. This is the joining. Then this is the joining on the buba itself. So both joining are together. So I'm not going to sew across this joining. So I'm going to start from here, 1 inch. Remember, it's 1 inch that we used for the sewing allowance. So I'm going to start from the joining, then I'll sew it to the other side. This is 1 inch. Even if I reverse, I will make sure I don't reverse across that joining. So I'm just going to sew it until I get to the other side. Make sure you are not pulling, because both are meant to be the same. If you pull it, one may become wider or wider than the other one. So I'm almost there. See, so this is the joining, and I will make sure I don't sew over it. So I reversed, and it is not also over it. So I'm going to bring this sleeve out now. You can see. Turn it to the right side, you will see that everything worked out perfectly well. Can you see my sleeve? Yes. Look at the joining. This is where I joined. You can see the L shape formed perfectly well, and there is no hole there. Can you see? So I'm going to sew the second one now. Then I'll go and fold this hemming to complete the buba. Okay, the buba is finally ready. You can see I've already done the sleeves, I've done the neckline. It's actually the neckline, the buba, that has the issue. The wrapper does not really have any need to demonstrate, just fold by the side. So my buba is ready. You can see everything is very neat. The sleeve, everything is neat. Then this is the wrapper. If you don't want it to be sewn in the traditional way, the alaku, you can just go ahead, fold the edge, just measure 2 inches on the edge, you fold it, then you fold a little here, that's all, just 2 inches, fold the edge a little, then you sew it down, then you do the other side as well. The same thing with lace. Now,